saying what that really, let me decode the stupidity for you. When people say dumb shit like that, translation, you're not willing to tolerate the bad behavior that naturally comes with a lot of black women. Because let's be honest, let's deal with the stereotypes here, right? I'm an open racist towards everybody. Let's deal with the black stereotypes. Black women are fat, loud, crass, annoying, have attitudes, and they don't respect male authority. There's a bunch of reasons for this, but I'll go over simply. The average black woman weighs 187 pounds. A lot of them are grow up in a single mother household where they're told every single day, niggas ain't shit. There is no patriarch in the family a lot of the times. This is just what goes on. Then when you listen to the rap music, what are they saying? Fuck niggas, get money, blah, blah, blah. It's just shitting on black men all day. And then the black men that are in their life a lot of the times, not every single time, but a lot of the times, they're criminals, they're fathers that weren't there, they're crooks, and it's just like a never-ending cycle where there's no real patriarch in the household. And then on top of that, you know, we since women, a lot of black women grow up without men in the house, they end up becoming extremely masculine. Now, this is fantastic when it comes to survival, getting a job, making your way through life, but this is terrible when it comes to attracting masculine men. Masculine men don't want masculine women in return. That would make you probably more than likely gay if you're attracted to yourself, right? And I always use the analogy because
that's your lane, Molly.
Because here's the thing with black women, right? They'll sit there and they'll say, "Oh, you can't handle me," and I'll say, "Why the fuck should I?" Because let me tell you this: if you went up to a black woman, and you said, "Hey, look, I like to wear heels on Saturdays," she'll be like, "Ew, what the fuck?" She'd curve you, rightfully so. That's weird. But why is it that we're supposed to accept masculine black women when they would never accept feminine black men? They never would. So why the hell should I accept a woman that behaves like a man when she would never accept me for behaving like a woman? And this is the insane double standard where they'll sit there and say, you need to expect me the way that I accept me the way that I come, but women never accept us the way that we come. We have to self-improve. Why don't they have to self-improve? So when they say dumb shit like that, saying, "Oh, you can't handle a black woman," or "Why don't you date them?" what that really means is, why are you not dealing with the stereotypical, loud, obnoxious, crass, rude black woman? And I'm saying no, because I don't want to date myself. So if I dated a black woman before that are polite, feminine, not fat, respectful, speak proper English, you know, they say ask instead of acts, like all these things. And that's what I like. So if I'm going to be around that, great. I don't really care about skin color like that. I have a preference. It just so happens that a lot of the times black women don't adhere to these preferences because they're indoctrinated to have this mindset of, let me challenge a man, let me be rambunctious, let me go ahead and chase a career and basically be the man that I want to get. And I'm not with that.
That's fair. How do you feel about that, Kim?
I agree with a lot of what he said. I've said before, I don't think that just in general, we'll even speak on black women because that's who he's talking about. I don't think that black women are taught to be wives. Whereas, you know, this black woman, if she's going to college to get her degree, these white girls were taught to be wives. They were taught to look for a man to take care of them. They were taught to look for husbands. They're going to college to look for a husband. They're going to be more submissive. They're going to be more passive because they're playing the long game.
And you want to hear something crazy too? You know what's funny? The white girls be the biggest hoes. I be warning people with these college-educated white girls. Like, if they join a sorority and shit like that, I tell guys all the time, like, bro, you know, you also don't want to wife up a whore. So, like, you know, what ends up happening a lot of times with black women, because black women typically only want to be, black women are very narrow in what they like a lot of the times. They prefer black men overwhelmingly. But the problem on the black male side is black men will take whatever, right? So that's kind of the issue where you run into a problem with a lot of black women. Also, black women tend to favor looks a lot more than other races. Which is, I guess, maybe a masculine trait. But black women tend to be more interested in the way that they dress, the way they conduct themselves, you know, the way they look, etc. Like, it's very interesting how I've noticed that with black women, they tend to be the race that is very interested in the way a man looks, which is fine. You can have your preferences, but what the problem with that is it dilutes the marketplace of men that you are going to open yourself up to. And when black women go to college and they educate themselves, etc., they kind of bring that percentage down even more so as they climb up the ranks. But like with white girls, you know, you're right. They go to college. They're looking for a husband while they're there in school a lot of times, because a lot of times they don't even want to work their shitty ass, you know, HR job that they end up getting. But they end up being hoes a lot of the times, if we're going to be honest. So that's another thing that I tell guys to watch out for when it comes to the white girls, because every every group of women has their stereotypes that guys got to look out for.
Carrie, what do you think? Carrie, what do you think about the narrative between black, white cultural norms, black women not necessarily being taught to look for husbands, all of that type of stuff? What do you think about everything that's being communicated in a general sense?
I agree with a lot of what he just said. I don't know if it's that women are not necessarily being taught to be wives per se, as much as taught to be wives that men want. Because everybody is not taught to go be an independent woman void of a man. Like some women are genuinely taught to go marry, but they're also taught to have a career at the same time. They're taught to have kids, but they're taught to go get an education. They're not taught to not be a wife, but they're also not necessarily taught to prioritize being a wife. They're not necessarily taught the characteristics that a husband that they want would actually be looking for.
So
because everybody doesn't come from a broken home either. I mean, I know a lot, we say that a lot, and I'm not downing the numbers on it, but everybody doesn't come from a broken home. A lot of people have a 2-parent example, but they might not necessarily know how to be the wife that they want the husband.
It's not just a black issue. It's a whole U.S. issue. The nuclear family has been destroyed, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. You know, feminism, etc., has been, I think, one of the biggest problems when it comes to degradation of the nuclear family. But what I will say is, because you mentioned a good point, that women, like, you know, they're told to go to school and pursue. And I would say, right, if someone wanted to lose weight, right, and they truly wanted to change their body, they would have to change everything about their lifestyle. They'd have to start going to sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. They'd have to prioritize going to the gym. They would have to change their entire lifestyle around to be able to achieve that goal. Here's the problem. We tell women that they can kind of live their life the way that they want, and there's going to be a good man at the end waiting for them. And the problem is, if you want a guy to take care of you, well, then you need to be in a position where you're prioritizing finding that guy. Because the days of, and this is kind of the conundrum of feminism, right? So what feminism effectively did was it gave women the autonomy